He's settled in there, right? He seems to.
Loves it.
Yeah.
Newsletter's gonna be the death of me.
Okay. Good evening. Today is April 14th, and we are convening the Charter Review Committee. We have all 6 of our members present. The time is 5:46 now, and I'm calling this meeting to order. We have full quorum as all 6 members are here. So, first agenda item is review and acceptance of the meeting minutes of March 31st, our last session. I reviewed, I have no issues or anything to add. As far as I'm concerned, Megan, they're fine. Anyone else have anything they wish to share with Megan on the meeting minutes?
No objection.
Look good. It's good.
Okay. Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve said minutes?
May I move for that, please?
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Any abstention? Okay. We certify the March 31st meeting minutes have been approved. Next thing on our agenda is the updates from the various work streams. All right, the interview team, I'll give a general overview and ask Gary and David if they have anything to add. We've continue to make significant progress relative to the interviews. We have completed all but one of the officials, department heads, etc., whether they're appointed or elected. Interviews have been completed, results compiled. We have made significant progress on the interviews for the committees, the boards, and commissions. Approximately a third to a half will be done by the time we do our formal presentation to the board, which is our next meeting on April 28th. We'll cover that as a separate agenda item later on. We also have interviewed, or will have interviewed, all 5 departments with employees, that being the Light Department, the Department of Public Works, which included water, tree, park support, cemetery support, roads. We've also concluded interviews with the Police Department, which we did today, and half of the Fire Department, and we will be completing the Fire Department next week at Mike's all-staff meeting. I think it's a week from Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. So, great feedback being given. We have incorporated that into the workbook, as well as input to an additional documents, which I'll cover under the new draft charter, item B. But for now, any questions? Gary, do you have anything you want to add around the interviews?
No, I think that they have given us a lot of good insight. Yeah, no, it's working the way it was designed to work.
Okay. David, anything additional?
I'd just like to call on top of that, what we have found in these meetings is very valuable information. And some of that information may not be some of the things that we would actually be able to deal with in the charter or bylaws if and when that happens. But we are finding things that fit into the, maybe not the recommendations, although there are some recommendations we've got out of these, and the observations as well. And both of those items are things that are on the agenda for tonight. And I just think it's important for us to have a general appreciation for some of those things that we're getting and how important that document, those documents, the recommendations and the observations is. And, because I think that's going to kind of set the tone for where we're going and where we're thinking of going and where we might want to go, and however we clarify it. But there are at least two glaring things, I won't mention them specifically at this point, but that opened my eyes to stuff that, and I thought I knew everything. But, the reality is that there's some, Paxton has a way to go. It's a good town, great town, but we can make it better, and that's what the whole purpose of what we do.
Okay, thank you, David.
You're welcome, sir.
I don't know if everyone is aware, I know a few of us are. Are you aware, specifically now targeting Megan, Chuck, and Paul, the contract for the town administrator, Heather Monroe, has not been renewed. She is not coming back. So her tenure here in Paxton as the town administrator will end on June 30th. Okay? We have no idea how the select board is going to approach and deal with the ultimate solution of her replacement yet. That has not been shared, but that is something that you obviously should and need to know. They are going to find, or they will appoint, an interim town administrator. And that means that we will have that responsibility to make sure we loop within that person relative to what we're doing. I would also call to your attention that in July, 2 more members join the select board. The select board then is officially 5, and we'll have to close that loop as well.
So with that information, especially relating back to the select board, and knowing our time frames that we want to try and finish one before we get into the information sharing, do we look to see if we want to meet with the candidates for the select board as part of a separate group, or is that premature?
I will take the question under advisement. I think it's appropriate that I might raise that to the select board and ask them that.
Okay.
Fair enough?
You were going to work with somebody
Right.
down the road,
exactly.
so.
Exactly, yeah. No, I agree. Great point, Gary. Great point. Okay. Any other questions around the interview process, team, anything? Any updates from us? Okay, hearing none. 3B, status of the new draft charter. David asked at our last meeting on March 31st for feedback on the preamble. I have provided that to David. David, the last time we talked, I was the only person to respond.
Yes, sir.
All right. Do the 4 of you have any kind of feedback, or have you had a chance to look at the preamble, and can you provide that feedback to David no later than noon on Friday? Does that work for you, David?
Yes, it does. And if I could just, when you're, for 2 minutes at the most. The reason I started off with the preamble and used that one is because, frankly, I think that we can all agree that there is a very, very concerning lack of participation. We have a lot of boards that have multiple members on multiple committees and things like that. We have a lot of open, including one on our committee seat. I tried to write that one and took that from other places that have also used preambles. Something that would be the very first thing, because it literally is the start, the top of the charter. First thing somebody will see, and they're not going to want to read anything else until after they read that and get the sense from us, from the preamble, that we want to assert the great, and I hate to sound pontificating, but the greatness of the fact that town meeting, the town charter, these are all things that help make the liberties that we've all had and have ever since the Magna Carta, actually, and then as amplified by the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of Massachusetts, also known as the Declaration of Rights. So I look at it as being something that I'm looking at as, with your advice and your, considerations and ultimately your decision, because I'm not deciding whether or not there's a vote on it and, that sort of thing. But the bottom line is, I want to get people in, got to get involved, get them, and make them feel that they're wanted and they can be used, and so that's why I wrote it the way it is. We the people may be, I think Steve and I talked about this, but we the people may be something that's a little too pretentious, but the whole gist of it is we have history, and we should make use of that history, especially through the town meeting and people coming on boards. It's where legislative branch of government, which is at the town level, and the executive branch of government come together. And so we want to make sure that neither one of us branches, or in our roles as branches, members of each branch, that there's something we should forget. We should not forget about the public. We should, yes.
So I have a question. So, we the people seems to be pretty standard in terms of, if
Well,
you look
it-
at the other, that seems like that's how every town starts theirs, right? So I think there's the reference back to home rule in most of these as well.
Exactly.
But my question is the format. You went with a format where you have sections.
Yeah.
It's an article. My understanding is the preamble is the intro. So it wouldn't be Article 1, it would be the intro.
It can be
and then
placed
Article
any way you
1.
want. The reason why as a matter of statutory construction, because what this is statutory, I wanted to make it part of rather than something that's not part of, because that would be something that, in my argument for doing it so, making it part of the actual charter, is that it wasn't something that would be a throwaway. It'd be something that when people, remember, they're going to be seeing this thing brand new, and probably never have seen the other one, except for the ones that we've attributed to some people, or provided to some people. I want it to be there because, I can picture a town meeting situation where something will happen, and somebody will do something, and I want to stand up, or you want to stand up, or somebody else wants to stand up and say, wait a minute, that's not in the spirit of what this charter says. This charter that's before you, and I have another preamble if you want to look at some point when we actually get to talking about it. But I have to shut up because we basically have a lot to cover and something that's more important than that. But when you guys get a chance, take a look at it and think, how do you want this charter to be? Do you want it to be something that we remind people of the power that they have, and that the way that we need to express that is by participation? We all know that there's something that about government that's missing in the charter.
Okay. You asked for 2 minutes, that was 2 minutes and 53 seconds.
See,
But we will not penalize you for the 53 seconds.
Oh, you will, I'll hear about it.
Okay.
But there's a lot of good resources out there on preambles and the purpose of them, and you just type Google Town Charter Preamble, and there's a lot of.
Again, provide that feedback. He is looking for that feedback.
No,
okay?
that's just in reference to everybody else, because that helped me to look at it through the prism of the definition of a preamble.
And I appreciate the question.
Good, great. All right, item 2B, two-team creation and process. I put it out there, only one person, maybe two, responded back. The two-team process for the status or drafting of the new charter. We have three of us that will do the writing, and three will do the review. Okay, the three people doing the authorship are Paul, David, and myself. The reviewers are Gary, Megan, and Chuck. We're doing this as, I forget who, it might have been Mr. Goldberg came up with the suggestion. It was a great one. And what I like to reference it by is, we want to eat our own dog food before we put it out to the public consumption. So this way, we do our own internal digestion and, attack versus having it done by someone else before we do a proper job of it. So the three of us will work on that. I've discovered today that Paul and David are actually neighbors, so the two of them can start working in conjunction with populating an appropriate level of content. And I will add, as I did today, I added some things into the draft and will continue to do so. But I think we can begin to step up that process with some rigor fairly soon, okay? Any questions on that piece?
No, my original thought was that would primarily occur once we're done with the information gathering stage.
Correct.
Okay,
No, you're correct.
all right,
But there are some pieces, as we think of it, or a reference that we can
Yeah.
put in as placeholders
yeah,
for discussion and/or between us before we do it any further.
thank you.
Okay? All right, item 3 under B. In addition to the charter, we're also doing 3 additional documents, which come to light as a result of our extensive interview and feedback, not only with all the folks that I've mentioned, but specifically also the 3 select board members who have provided great insight to us in one-on-one sessions. All right. The first is a brand-new organizational chart, and I have sent a note off to Megan and Chuck because they seem to be the people best equipped to possibly create one. I had requested that the town administrator work with me. Well, obviously because of certain circumstances that have happened since that request, as well as her inability to get something to work in Excel, which is where the original one was created. I would be willing to ask the 2 of you, one of you, whoever, to kind of take a draft, and the 3 of us could work on it to make sure it's accurate, as represented by all of the folks that we talked to. I have taken the liberty of hand drawing it, so
Check
it's
that handwriting
available,
out. That's handwritten.
So do you want me,
handwritten.
I can do that. I looked into some platforms for org chart creation, and it seems like there's some good solutions available for free. So
Yeah.
I would be happy to take that and plug that into a,
Awesome,
If
awesome.
not a straight-up PowerPoint, you can do it into,
It's not, yeah, I did try to do the org chart in PowerPoint, but it limits me to certain number of boxes in a very confined space, and by the time you make it small enough to have some representative, you can't read what the content of the box at all.
Okay.
So it was somewhat challenging to me. So I will leave it to our technical team to tackle that.
okay.
All right. The second one is, the other 2 documents are documents that David briefly referenced, and these are recommendations and observations. Let me give you an idea as to what is meant there. Specifically, as we talk to the folks, and I don't even want to begin to guess, it's got to be close to 100 people we've talked to by now, right? We count everybody?
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm going that high, but it's a lot.
Yeah. All right, how about 80 to 100?
Okay,
That's
that's
probably close. Anyway. Bryce, we've even spoken to the light department linesmen that are out there. I mean, we've talked to everybody.
it would be
And-
good to have a good number on that, though, so then we do.
Trust me, I can tell you the exact number.
Okay, good.
Without problem at all, I can tell you the exact number. A lot of feedback has been consistent with what people feel is needed, okay? And what changes need to occur in this town to drive effectiveness and efficiency, okay? Some deal with, a different reporting structure and organization. Some deal with, tying contracts into titles into, the charter to represent appropriately. Some are specific recommendations around, for example, an orientation for every new employee, new board member, new committee person, that has come to light. A formalized HR function. There are certain things that are strongly recommended, and when I have added them to the recommendations with Gary and David's kind of oversight, I've done so in the context of if I make a recommendation, it's something that can immediately be taken action on, right? That can actually be taken action on. And in many cases, we're hoping that when we loop back and have a conversation with the select board members, one-on-one, me with each of them one-on-one, they will agree to certain things being actually, from the recommendations, to be actually included in